Well, I've been printing a lot of hoodies for the last couple weeks, and I mean a lot. I'm still set up to print them now, so I figured now's a pretty good opportunity to print some for myself, but I can use that to show you guys a thing or two about printing on Camo. I see people with questions or having issues with printing on Camo in our print group and other print groups pretty regularly, so let's tackle this. So first of all, printing on Camo is not as hard as some people make it out to be. Believe me, I've seen shop owners give people the advice of just don't print Camo. We don't print Camo in our shop. That's crazy to me. If a shop told me they don't print Camo over there, I would take my business elsewhere. That's just lazy. It's really not hard to do at all. It just takes the proper setup and a couple extra steps. The reason for Camo being more difficult to print is because of dye migration from the dyes used to make the Camo pattern itself. These dyes, once they hit a certain temperature, which is usually above 300 degrees, they will turn back into a liquid or gaseous state and let go of the fabric and actually start leaching their way up through your print. So let's say you laid down a really nice white print on a Camo garment with just some standard inks. There's a good chance that by the time you're done, that white ink is gonna not be very white anymore. It's gonna show a lot of that Camo pattern through the print. And the worst part about this is sometimes it's not instant. Sometimes it takes a few hours. So you could be printing and thinking everything is all good and run through thousands of dollars worth of hoodies and then come back to them a few hours or a day later and then notice all your prints are ruined. And trust me, I know this from experience from the first time that I tried printing Camo, and it did not go well for me. And I actually laid down just a standard old white print on this thing just to show you guys what that looks like. Now these hoodies hold their dye extremely well, so we're not seeing the full effect of what dye migration can really do, but still when you look at this thing up close, that white is just not really a crisp white anymore. You can see a lot of yellowing going on wherever the print's overlapping the green. It seems like that color bled more than the others, and there's just a bunch of really kind of weird stuff going on. If you look at this thing up close, it's just really not too appealing. So in order to stop that from happening, we need to use some special stuff. To effectively pull this off, you're gonna need two things: a dye blocker underbase and a low cure ink. So for the dye blocker underbase today, we're gonna use the Wilflex Epic Super Armor Gray. Man, I've never said that out loud before. They have Epic and Super back to back in the same title. I guess they're not messing around. Now, I'm no ink expert or scientist, but this stuff has some kind of a carbon inside of it that helps block that dye from bleeding up past this layer. Plus it cures at 270 degrees, so we should be well below any kind of temperatures where dye migration would be an issue anyways. And then for our white, we're gonna use the old FN Ink White. This stuff is a low cure plastisol. It cures at 260 degrees, so again, we're well below the danger zone.
Danger zone.
I should also mention that there are water-based solutions for both of these things, but my personal preference for hoodies is to use plastisol. That's just my thing, so we're using plastisol today. I'll do water-based in a whole other video because it is a little bit different. So that being said, let's set this up. Let's learn how to print some Camo. Oh, wait, speaking of learning, today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. You may have heard me talk about Skillshare before, but if you haven't, Skillshare is an online learning platform with tons of killer classes so that you can learn pretty much anything that you could possibly ever want to know. Seriously, I'm such a big fan of the platform. I've been a member for about 3 years now, and it's been absolutely instrumental in everything that I do here. Right now, I'm currently doing the 80s design class by James White. If you don't know who James White is, he's a super killer artist. He does really cool synthwave 80s inspired type of artwork, and man, it's just some of my favorite stuff out there. In this class, he shows his exact workflow on how he creates this stuff, which has been amazing because I've wanted to learn how to do this forever now. So I'm starting to figure it out. We just might do some cool 80s inspired prints in the future because of it. And since they're sponsoring today's video, the first 1,000 of you guys who click the link down in the description below are gonna get 2 months of Skillshare for free. So if you wanna learn something, now is the time to do it. Again, this platform has been super huge to me. Learning how to create artwork and just doing all the stuff a printer needs to know on the artwork side. I learned all of that on Skillshare. So if you haven't checked it out yet, again, click the link down in the description. It's worth it. So starting off with the hoodie itself. Usually when I make these videos, I never really name names when it comes down to the blanks that I use to make my products because it's just some things that I want to keep to myself sometimes. It's just the way it goes in business. But after literally thousands of requests, we're letting the cat out of the bag with one of them. This hoodie that we're using here is the Independent Trading Co. IND 4000. As far as I'm concerned, this is the best of the best hoodie on the market, hands down, as far as quality, as far as just feel, fit, all of it. I love these things. This is what I use for my brand. This is what I use for other premium brands that print here. This is my go-to if somebody wants like that top of the line hoodie every single time. And in this case, it helps us out having such a premium garment. Because this thing is so well made, this dye holds into the fabric very, very well. It does bleed a little bit like I showed you earlier. That's just kind of the nature of the game. There's really no way around it. But when it comes to these things, they bleed a lot less than something way further down the food chain. I've seen some lower quality camo garments that just bleed insane amounts through the print. It's almost like the print might as well have been see-through. And because I'm using these things, I can be 100% confident that my blocker base is gonna do its job and I'm not gonna see any of these colors poking through into my nice clean white print. All right, so first up, we're gonna lay down our under base, which is our gray blocker base. I've got this on a 156 mesh. They recommend printing on a 110, but we are gonna hit this print 3 times, so I chose a 156 because I don't want this thing building up any further than I have to. So 156, it should pass through here pretty clear. The only thing we have to do is when we pull this print, you wanna flood once and then just do a couple clearing strokes afterwards. You usually need good 1, sometimes 2, to get this thing all the way cleared out and have a nice crispy base print like that. Now we send it underneath the flash. You can see here my flash height is pretty up there because we want to make sure that we're not overheating this garment, we're not over curing this base layer. It's probably already cured right now. Yes, it is. This is a very, very fast curing ink, so we don't want to overheat anything and just cause any issues. You could shrink the hoodie, or you could do it bad enough to where this dye maybe could migrate through this stuff. I don't know, I've never seen it before, but it's a possibility. So just make sure you're minding your flash. All right, so now we got our first hit of white, and if you laid down that base layer correctly, you should have no problems laying down a nice crispy white over top of that. You might need to use a clearing stroke like I do here, but otherwise it should go relatively smooth, just like that. Now, if this was a t-shirt or something, I would stop right here, toss it in the dryer, but because it's a hoodie and we can afford to have a thicker, chunkier print on it, I actually prefer it just because the hoodie's a thicker, chunkier garment.
Holy moly, she's a thick bitch.
I want to put down one more hit of white on this just to make sure that there is going to be nothing that bleeds through here, and this white is going to be as bright as it can possibly be. All right, and the final and most important step, the curing process. Again, make sure you are not exceeding 300 degrees. This ink cures at 260 degrees. The top layer, the bottom is 270. So I made sure I'm set up to be curing around 290. We're definitely safe there. I mapped it out with a donut probe to make sure that's exactly what that's curing at. I realize a lot of people don't have access to one of those, can't afford one, whatever it is. So most people are using an IR temp gun. Remember, this is just reading the surface temperature. It is not reading the core temperature of that ink. So if you're using one of these, just make sure you're going 30, 40 degrees over, somewhere in that range is what I've found is kind of the sweet spot for this one. It may be different for yours, but play around with it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a solid dye migration free print on some camo. The same rules applied for this little hit up front. This was much easier, by the way. Those big prints on the back were not easy to pull off. And I also went and dug out some low cure gray and jammed some neck labels in here. Sneak peek at one of our new neck label template designs, by the way. But I'm gonna shut up now. Let's check this thing out for real. Pretty damn good chance that this is gonna be my new favorite hoodie for the next little while. This thing is good. And a select few of you are gonna have a chance to get one of these because I made a very small batch while making this video that I'm gonna put up on the Rogue Lab website right now. So if you want one, you better move quick because there's not a lot of them and they're not gonna last. But yeah, printing on camo really isn't that hard as long as you take the right steps to do it. And actually, you can use these steps to print on really any aggressively dye migrating fabric out there. A lot of the printed stuff like this, polyesters, things like that, a lot of it is gonna get the same issues, so you can use this same exact technique technique and apply it to different stuff where you might run into dye migration. And play around with it. There's gonna be different ways to do different stuff. You might wanna try different mesh counts. You might wanna try different techniques, different print orders. Say you run into like a really bad dye migrating fabric, you might wanna switch the way that I did this with a base layer and 2 hits of white to 2 hits of base layer and 1 hit of white just to get that extra bit of protection. There's so many different ways that you can do this. Mess around with it. Hell, I've even heard of shops laying down blocker base on all the hoodies that they print just to get that added bit of protection. I've never really run into many issues printing solid color hoodies. I've had it like maybe like 1 out of 100. I've had some dye migration spots pop up here and there from little threads or something that was poking out that I didn't see, but it's not a bad idea to try. So like I said, play around with it. There's a lot that you can do with this stuff. This is just how I've been doing it for the past little while. It works, and it works very well. I still think I could fine tune some stuff here and there and get it just that little bit better. So if I end up doing that, I'll update you guys. And speaking of updates, getting away from this whole camo printing topic now, we've got some pretty big stuff coming up. I don't know if it's coming in the next video or the one after that, or even the one after that. I have no idea yet, but I got some new equipment coming that I'm really excited about. All I'm gonna say right now is we're branching into some new territory, and I'm gonna be starting off at square one again like I did with this stuff way back when this whole deal started. So yeah, there's more than likely gonna be a string of videos of me completely shitting the bed and figuring out how to fix it along the way. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Oh, this sucks. Why did I pick this position to sit in? You gotta be shit. Oh shit! Oh fuck! Oh shit! Oh, I got it! Woo! That's twice in one day. I'm putting this away. I'm standing right beside the flash. It's so hot. Oh my god. Oh, claws in my back. Come on. You're such a little lazy piece of shit. Get me in the shot. I don't want to walk anywhere. God, there's like a piece of fluff out of the corner of my eye, and I can't seem to find it. Come on, it's still there. Did I get it? I think I got it. I've been trying to spit out the same sentence for like 10 minutes, and that thing kept distracting me.